I was planning to propose to the love of my life until she dumped me just to save herself from embarrassment. I didn't see it coming, and the way it unfolded shattered everything I thought I knew about love. It's crazy how you can plan a proposal one night and wake up dumped the next morning. My name's Jason, and this story still haunts me every time I see a diamond ring. If you've ever been dumped by someone you were about to propose to, you know what kind of pain lives behind your ribs, the kind that doesn't let you sleep, eat, or breathe right. Welcome to Raw Reddit Tales. Subscribe to keep getting the spiciest stories. Her name was Mara. The first time I saw her was at my friend Caleb's birthday dinner. She wasn't trying to stand out, no loud laugh, no flashy outfit, but there was something magnetic about her. She had that kind of quiet confidence that made everyone lean in just to hear her speak. I remember she ordered wine instead of cocktails, and when I joked that she looked too classy for the chaos around us, she smiled and said, "Maybe I just don't like losing control." I should have known that line would mean more than it seemed. We started talking after that night, casually at first, texts that turned into late-night calls, then late-night drives, and before long, she was part of my everyday. We had this effortless rhythm. She'd hum while cooking, I'd sneak behind her to wrap my arms around her waist, and she'd laugh that low, sleepy laugh that made everything else in the world fade out. Mara wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my calm in every storm. Our first trip together was to Cape May. The beach was nearly empty, the air salty and cold. She'd forgotten her jacket, so I gave her mine, and she wore it like it belonged to her. That night, she told me she'd never felt so safe with anyone. That moment right there, her hair whipping in the wind, my jacket drowning her shoulders, I knew she was it for me. I wanted forever with her, but forever has a way of testing your belief in it before giving it to you. The months that followed felt like something out of a dream. Mara and I were inseparable. We spent lazy Sundays making pancakes, laughing about who burned them worse, and staying up too late watching crime documentaries we'd never finish. She was everything soft in a world that often felt cold. My friends loved her, my mother adored her, and I was convinced she was the one. There was no hesitation in my mind, just a quiet certainty that I'd found the woman I wanted to grow old with. She wasn't perfect, but her imperfections made her real. Mara had this stubborn streak, especially when she felt cornered. She'd rather walk away than admit she was wrong. At first I found it charming, her fire, her independence, but over time I realized it came from a place of fear. She hated looking weak, even in front of me. I remember one night she got a flat tire driving home from work, and instead of calling me for help, she walked 2 miles in heels just to avoid asking. When I found out, I was furious, but she brushed it off like it was nothing. "I don't like being rescued," she said, smiling faintly. I told her love wasn't about rescue, it was about partnership. She nodded but didn't respond. That silence stayed with me. Still, I ignored the red flags because love makes you blind in the prettiest ways. I was too busy planning a future, thinking about the ring, the proposal, the life we'd build. I even started looking at apartments near the lake, the kind with big windows and enough space for the family we used to talk about. Then things began to shift. Mara grew distant, not all at once, but piece by piece. Texts got shorter. Calls ended quicker. The warmth in her eyes started fading, replaced by something I couldn't name. I thought maybe work was stressing her out, or maybe she just needed space. I gave it to her, not realizing I was giving her room to drift away. One night, while we were having dinner at her place, she looked at me across the table with an expression I'd never seen before, half guilt, half fear, and asked softly, "Jason, why do you love me?" That was the night everything started unraveling. Her question caught me off guard. "Why do you love me?" I laughed at first, thinking she was teasing me again like she used to, but her face didn't move. No smile, no playfulness, just stillness and an unreadable stare. The air in the room felt heavier, like she'd opened a door I didn't know existed. I told her I loved her because she made me feel grounded, because she challenged me, because she was the first person who ever made me believe in something permanent. She just nodded, barely looking up from her plate, and said quietly, "Permanent things make me nervous." I didn't know what to say. The next few days were uneasy. Her affection turned into politeness. The hugs felt rehearsed. The I love yous came out like obligations, not feelings. I tried to convince myself it was a phase, that she'd snap out of it, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. A week later, I went to pick her up from work to surprise her with dinner. She wasn't outside waiting like usual, and her phone went straight to voicemail. After nearly 30 minutes, she walked out of the building looking startled to see me. "Jason, what are you doing here?" she asked, voice trembling just enough for me to notice. I smiled, trying to keep it light. "I missed you. Thought I'd take you out." But she glanced over her shoulder before whispering, "You shouldn't have come." Something in my stomach dropped. Before I could ask what that meant, a man walked out of the same building, calling her name. He looked around our age, confident, the kind of guy who didn't have to try hard to be noticed. Mara froze, her eyes darting between us like she was calculating something. She turned to me and said, "Jason, this is Adam. We work together." Adam extended his hand, smiling too easily, but I couldn't bring myself to shake it. I just nodded, trying not to show what I was feeling. The rest of the night, she was distant, quiet, and restless. When I dropped her off, she didn't ask me to come in like she usually did. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "You're too good to me." It didn't sound like gratitude. It sounded like goodbye in disguise. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my head. You're too good to me. It was the kind of line people used before they left. By morning, my chest felt hollow, my thoughts tangled between suspicion and denial. I tried to reach out, but her replies were short, delayed, and emotionless. When someone you love starts texting you like a stranger, you can feel it in your bones. Something was dying, and no matter how much I tried to hold it together, it was slipping through my fingers. A few days later, I drove to her apartment unannounced. The curtains were drawn, but her car was parked outside. I hesitated before knocking, heart thudding. When she opened the door, she looked surprised, like she'd been caught off guard. Her hair was messy, her voice shaky. "Jason, you should have called." I tried to smile, pretending not to notice the tension in her voice. "I just wanted to see you. We haven't really talked lately." She stepped aside to let me in, but her hands were trembling. Something in the air felt wrong. There was an unfamiliar scent lingering in the room. Expensive cologne, not mine. I scanned the space instinctively. 2 glasses on the counter, a man's jacket on the couch. My stomach clenched. She followed my gaze and her lips parted slightly, panic flashing across her face. Before she could speak, a voice came from the hallway. "Mara, who's at the door?" I froze. The sound of that man's voice was all it took. My chest felt like it was collapsing from the inside. Adam walked out, half-dressed, looking at me like I was an inconvenience. Mara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't move. The silence was brutal, sharp, unbearable. "I can explain," she said finally, her voice breaking. But I wasn't sure she could. I wasn't sure I even wanted her to. Every image of us, the late-night talks, the plans, the future, shattered right there between the 3 of us. I turned toward the door, but she grabbed my arm. "Jason, please, it's not what it looks like." I looked at her hand on my sleeve, her eyes pleading, her voice trembling with guilt. Then I said quietly, "You don't have to lie anymore, Mara. I already know." Mara stood there shaking, her eyes darting between me and Adam like she was trapped between guilt and desperation. "Jason, please. It's not what you think," she whispered, voice trembling. I laughed under my breath, not because it was funny, but because disbelief was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. Adam stepped back, clearly realizing he was witnessing a moment he didn't belong in. But Mara wasn't ready to let go. "You've been so distant lately," she said suddenly, her tone shifting. "You've been buried in work, always tired, always gone. I felt like I was dating a ghost." I stared at her, stunned. That's when it hit me. She was trying to gaslight me. The woman who used to beg me to take care of myself was now using my long hours against me. "So you slept with someone else because I was working?" I asked quietly. She flinched but didn't answer. The silence screamed louder than anything she could have said. Her eyes were red, her breathing shallow. Then she said it, the sentence that ripped whatever was left of me. "I saw the ring, Jason. I saw it in your suitcase last week. I panicked." The room tilted. "You what?" I said, barely above a whisper. She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I wasn't ready, okay? You were planning this whole future, and I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to embarrass you by saying no in front of everyone. I thought if I ended it first, maybe you'd hate me less." "Embarrass me?" I repeated. "You think cheating on me is less embarrassing than telling me the truth?" She looked broken, but I couldn't find sympathy anymore. The woman I loved had turned her fear into betrayal. I'd spent months believing her distance was stress, that she needed space. Meanwhile, she'd been building a safety net with another man, someone who made her feel free while I was busy building her forever. Mara reached for me again, crying harder now. "Jason, I didn't mean for this to happen. I stepped back, my voice calm but cold. You didn't want to be anyone's wife, Mara. You wanted to be wanted, even if it meant destroying the one person who actually did." Her face crumbled, and for the first time, I saw her for who she really was, someone terrified of love that required accountability. Mara sank to the floor sobbing, but the sound didn't move me. For the first time since I met her, I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, no pity. Just emptiness. Adam quietly retreated to the hallway, guilt written all over his face, but I couldn't care less about him. My focus was on her, the woman I almost gave my last name to, the same woman who traded my love for temporary validation. She kept whispering through her tears, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was scared, Jason. I didn't know how to tell you." I crouched down, meeting her eyes. "You didn't have to tell me, Mara. You just had to be honest. I would have understood if you weren't ready. But instead, you chose deceit." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. It was like she finally realized how deep the damage went. I stood up, my hands trembling, not from sadness anymore, but from clarity. "You thought rejecting me would embarrass you? You thought walking away first would protect your pride?" She looked up at me, face wet and desperate. "I didn't want to look like the bad guy." "You didn't avoid embarrassment," I said quietly. "You created it." For a moment, silence filled the room. The ticking clock was the only sound. Then I picked up my jacket and walked toward the door. "Jason, please," she cried. "Can't we fix this?" I turned back once. "You can't fix something you burned to the ground." As I stepped outside, the night air hit me hard, but it felt cleansing, like stepping out of a storm. My chest ached, but underneath the pain was something else. Peace. I realized then that love isn't about saving someone who refuses to be honest. It's about knowing when to walk away with your dignity intact. In the weeks that followed, I learned to breathe again. I started running every morning, reading more, reconnecting with people I'd neglected. Mara reached out once, a long message filled with apologies and memories, but I never replied. She made her choice, and I finally made mine. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was freedom. Sometimes love doesn't end with closure. Sometimes it ends with acceptance. The end. Please like and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. What do you think of the story? Please comment below.